Japan is a country that seems amazing. It's the center of pop culture, anime, and technology. I know several people who have had excellent experiences there. I love this country. But recently, many people on the internet have shared that they've had terrible experiences in the country. But is Japan a country that only lives on appearances? Is it not as the media portrays it? And is it actually a bad place for many people? Today, we will finally talk about this. In this video, I will explain why Japan is not a country for everyone, why you can either love or completely hate Japan, and I will show you sides of this story that no one talks about. So this video will serve as a good guide for those who like the country and don't want to be completely disappointed. When we think of Japan, it's very easy to imagine anime scenes, streets lit by colorful signs, trains that are very punctual, and a perfect blend of tradition and technology. This is the image the media sells, and it's partly true. It's not all lies. Japan indeed has very impressive temples, but also very futuristic neighborhoods, and they still manage to maintain a very rich culture. But living here is very different from spending a few days as a tourist, and this can be even worse if you are a certain type of tourist. In real life, Japan has a much quieter, more bureaucratic side, and it's full of rules, so to speak. There are forms for almost everything, and many services still depend on paper, stamps known as hanko, and even in-person service. Technology is everywhere in the country, but not always in the daily life of ordinary people. A curious example is that it's still common to pay bills at the supermarket counter, or even send documents by fax. As far as I remember, Japan must be the only country in the world that still uses fax. People's behavior is also very different from what we are used to. The streets are quiet, even in big cities. It's not very common to talk to people on the street all the time, and speaking loudly in public is seen as rude. On trains, the rule is almost absolute. No noise, not even on the phone. Breaking these rules, which are not laws but are rules, will make you very frowned upon. Another point that can be overwhelming for people is the hierarchy. There is a system of respect based on age, experience, and status. This means that expressing your opinions freely may not be very well received. At work, for example, there's that expectation. People keep pushing you to participate in gatherings with colleagues, which usually involve drinking. They expect you to serve drinks to older or higher-ranking people and avoid leaving before your boss, even if your work hours are over. There are even different ways to bow depending on the situation, and using the wrong gesture can seem disrespectful. So, there are many things that I personally find a bit annoying and unnecessary, but they are so ingrained in people's minds in Japan. They take this hierarchy thing very seriously, and all of this can be a big problem for outsiders. Those who come with the expectation of living in an anime scene or a cultural theme park may be disappointed to discover that Japan is a country like any other. And this can shatter many people's dreams because it's not just that Japan is a country like any other, it's more rigid than most countries. Living in Japan can be an incredible experience, but it's also a constant test of adaptation. There are daily challenges that don't appear in tourism videos or Netflix series, and many of these challenges only become clear once you're already in the Japanese daily life. Exhausting work. The concept of karoshi, or death from overwork, shows how people take work to the extreme in Japan. The professional culture highly values effort, discipline, perfection, and all this comes at a very high cost, and they expect you to do it too. Doing zangyu or overtime is not an exception. It's almost expected by people. Many employees don't even receive pay for all the extra time they spend at the company, and if you make mistakes, even small ones, they are generally taken very seriously. Even when it comes to work vacations, many people don't use all their vacation days so as not to overwhelm colleagues, so people end up expecting you to do the same. There are cases of employees returning to work the day after their wedding, or even after a family funeral because work cannot wait. And there are many people like that in Japan. It's not an isolated thing. Speaking of isolated, Japan has a very serious problem with social isolation. Japan is one of the safest countries in the world, but safety is not synonymous with closer people. Building deep bonds with Japanese people takes quite a long time, much more than in Western countries. Most interactions between people start in a very formal way, and getting to more personal conversations can take months, depending on the person. And many foreigners end up interacting only with other foreigners, creating a bubble that greatly limits cultural immersion. That's why you'll meet many people who have lived 10, 15 years in Japan and don't speak Japanese and don't interact with Japanese people. Sometimes only at work, but they live among people from the same country. It's a rather curious thing. There is also a cost of living issue. Major cities in Japan, like Tokyo or Osaka, have very high rents and quite small properties. And this is no exaggeration. In central areas, it's not uncommon to live in spaces of 15-20 square meters, where your bed, kitchen, and office are practically in the same room. It's a square block that has all of this inside. Moreover, many buildings do not have efficient heating or insulation, which means you'll turn into a popsicle in the winter and cook inside your home in the summer. And if all that wasn't enough, there's still a lot of bureaucracy to move. Renting a property requires deposits and many fees, like the shikikin, which is a kind of security deposit, and the reikin, which is a gratuity money. Together, these can add up to 4 to 6 months of rent before even moving in. And a curiosity, some apartments refuse foreign tenants, even with income and documentation in order. Some people don't like foreigners very much. Let's make that clear. Climate and natural disasters. Japan is a very beautiful country in all seasons, but the climate and natural risks are a constant challenge. You can't pretend otherwise about this. Temperatures are very high, with intense humidity in the summer, which leaves that suffocating heat sensation, so having air conditioning is essential, but it greatly increases the electricity bill. Earthquakes also occur frequently, and although most are of low intensity, you need to be prepared for some emergencies. And there are also typhoons, right? Between June and October, storms with very strong winds can disrupt transportation, cancel flights, and even cause some flooding. So this routine in Japan, with such complicated nature, requires planning on your part and at least a basic knowledge of safety. There's also the issue of discrimination, which is somewhat subtle. Japan is undoubtedly a safe country, as I mentioned. It's a very polite country, with very nice people, but that doesn't mean discrimination doesn't exist. The foreigner, or gaijin, is seen as an outsider, and this barrier can last forever in some cases. So you may be refused in establishments. There are some bars, restaurants, properties that have signs and notices for Japanese only. Many people may treat you differently, and there are also stereotypes, which I think is the most tolerable. People may assume your profession, habits, or even personality just based on your appearance or country of origin. This discrimination is rarely aggressive, not like what happens in Europe, for example, but its constancy can be problematic for you. Well, this is one of the reasons why most people go through almost all these situations, not knowing how to speak Japanese. Many people arrive in Japan thinking that English alone will be enough, but the reality in the country is different. English in Japan is very limited. Even in Tokyo, many basic services do not offer assistance in English. Forms, contracts, emergency notices are almost always in Japanese. There are cases of foreigners who have received fines simply because they couldn't read official notices. So, without at least an intermediate level of Japanese, simple things like going to the doctor, opening a bank account, or even ordering food can become a major headache. So, it's important to be ready and prepared to understand the difference between visiting and living in Japan. Visiting Japan as a tourist is like spending a vacation in an organized, beautiful world full of new experiences. And there are neighborhoods where you will meet many tourists and many Japanese people having fun as well. But in most of the country, people are just living their lives. Tourist models, they don't want people taking photos and recording videos of them all the time. They are just going about their normal routine, so they won't be in that fun mood all the time. This can be quite complicated. What was charming during the trip for many people, like extreme punctuality or the silence of people, can end up being quite frustrating when it becomes a daily obligation. Bureaucracy, the cost of living, communication difficulties, and social norms are details that go unnoticed by those who stay only a few weeks. But even so, those who stay a few weeks and go to more than one place and leave the big cities, end up discovering that the country is not all that euphoria and fun that it seems in the first few days. And that's normal. It's like that in every country. Many foreigners are disappointed because they enter Japan expecting something they found in other countries, or even with an image based on media, tourism, pop culture. But they weren't prepared to deal with the normal and imperfect part. And I think the most crucial point of all is that these people didn't speak Japanese. So for a people as closed as the Japanese regarding this, a foreigner arriving in their country and not being able to communicate with them, not even caring to learn a bit of Japanese, can end up further closing the relationship between them. This can worsen the situation more and more. So if you like Japan, learn Japanese, learn a little about the culture too. This will make people infinitely more receptive to you. This is like a basic requirement for you to get along well in Japan. Well, that was today's video. This was a discussion I've been wanting to have with you for some time. I think Japan is an amazing country, but it's a complex country. It's not a simple country like others. I actually think no country in Asia is as simple as most Western countries. They're much more complex. It's hard for us to understand these countries, but they have their reasons, right? So if you also like it, comment below what you think about all this. I'll see you in one of these videos that are popping up on your screen.